today's going to be fun. I'm particularly proud of this topic and of this information that I'm about to share with you, because even though I put a G on the end of process, which is a mistake, so I'm going to tell you that when I first started working with SRS, I was pretty much the retail guy. When it came to sales, I would talk about retail selling and how to manage the retail sales process. And that was something that I thought that I pretty much had dialed in. And I had a lot of storm restoration contractors as I traveled the country, and they would ask me questions like, hey, John, how do you compete with the guys that are, playing the deductible games? How do you compete with the guys? How do you convince the homeowner that they should actually pay you the deductible? And in every single case, the contractor, I would ask the question, well, tell me a little bit about your process, because I think for any of you guys that have listened to me talk, and I've even mentioned it on some of these webinars, sales process is mission critical to the success of every contractor, of every salesperson. And I want to be clear, like I'm not necessarily suggesting that you need to anchor yourself to a process that's restrictive, and that now I'm in the first stage, I now need to move into the second stage and in the third stage type of thing. I just think we need to have an awareness of how that process works within our entire system to really, create a condition where the customer has determined that they really want to do business with you. And I've always said that the goal of the sales process is to create a condition where the homeowner comes to the conclusion, I'd have to be crazy to choose anybody other than these guys. Because then when we ask them to consider the additional cost required to do business with us, and in the storm world, that cost is reflected in the form of the deductible. I'm asking them to weigh the cost of the deductible against the perceived value of all the reasons why they really want to do business with me. And I want to start off by sharing with you guys a little story. This is, where's my clicker here? This is my son, Josh. He's much older today. He's 10. But this is a picture of Josh dressed as Thor. And many people think that was what he wore when he went to Halloween. But actually, Halloween that year, he was a vampire. This is just the way Josh dressed when he was 6 years old. And, one of the dressed as Thor anyway. But this is really more of a story about Josh and his relationship with my DVD player. And I do love my son very much. But on one particular occasion, I came to realize that I loved him even more. And that occasion was the day that he busted my DVD player. He literally snapped the tray right off of it, and I was forced to go out and buy a new DVD player. And the reason why I said that I love him even more is because, A, he forced me to upgrade, which is a good thing. B, I didn't have to watch Toy Story, for the 10 millionth time. But also, when I got involved in the process of buying that DVD player, I started to come to the realization of how price plays into the overall decision. And that's something I think everybody needs to think about. Look, I went on the Best Buy website, and I looked at, 3 popular brands that I was pretty comfortable with. There was a Sony, a Samsung, and an LG. And what Best Buy did for me was it gave me the opportunity to list those brands side by side so that I could see how they compared to one another. And it also gave me the opportunity to click on a button that said Show Differences. And if I clicked on that Show Differences button, it would highlight for me in blue the differences between the different DVD players. So I had one that was $99, one that was $159, and one that was $200. What I was asking myself is, well, what does the $200 DVD player offer me that the $100 DVD player doesn't? And is it worth an extra $100 to get those features? Now, I often ask the question when I'm in a large group, do you think that I'm selling based or I'm buying based on the price? And most people get that, no, you're not buying based on price, you're buying based on value. And that's really the right answer. But every so often I do have somebody to say, yeah, but John, it's all about the price. And what I would caution you to think about is that if it was all about price, if that's strictly what I was basing my buying decision on, I wouldn't be on the Best Buy website choosing between a Samsung, an LG, and a Sony. I would have went to Walmart, and I would have chose the Orion Blu-ray DVD player because that's probably the least expensive one on the market. So in my evaluation, I was looking at the Sony DVD player and said, for $100 more, I could get cool things like checking the weather, playing Sudoku, checking Facebook, playing Texas Hold'em, Twitter. And from my perspective, it really wasn't worth an extra $100 to have those features, so I went with the less expensive DVD player. Now, I've showed you guys this on our very first webinar that we did, that I believe that homeowners are desperate to find differences to base their decisions on because they want to feel good about making a smart decision. And if they don't see any differences, they literally have no choice but to look at the price because that is the only difference that they see. So if you think about that and you dial it back to the contractor selection process, what if they offered a similar service when shopping for a roofer? What if you could list all three contractors side by side and click on the Show Differences button? Would the value of the differences be worth the cost of the deductible? So in this particular case, you've got a Certainteed contractor and an Owens Corning contractor. They're telling the contractor, the homeowner, you need to pay your deductible. Now, granted, that $1,500 deductible, we would love that that was our world, right? Because many of us are seeing much, much higher numbers. But we also have one other contractor that's saying you don't need to eat the deductible. You don't need to pay the deductible. I'll take care of it. So my question is what are the values, the perceived value of doing business with, in this case, the Certainteed or the Owens Corning contractor that would compel the homeowner to say, you know what, I'd be crazy if I didn't pay this deductible. So when I ask contractors and I say, tell me about your process, more often than not, they describe something that looks like this. And what's amazing is when I do seminars, for a couple hundred roofers, I always see guys pull out their phone and they start taking pictures of this. And I'm like, don't take a picture of this one. This is the one that doesn't work. Guys, if you think about this process, and I want you to think about it as it relates to your own sales activities in an insurance restoration environment, we typically knock the door, we greet the customer, we show them our credentials, and we try to, pave the way for us to get on a roof. We do an inspection. Once we do the inspection, we come down and we tell the homeowner, hey, look, I did find some damage. Based on this damage, it's my strong recommendation that we file a claim with your insurance company. If we do that today, right, we'll get you on their schedule, which is good because they're about 2 to 3 weeks out. Do you want me to help you make that call? And then we call it in. We then schedule, hopefully, to meet with the adjuster on the job site at the time of the inspection. We then receive the scope of the order. We might have a little bit of a tussle with the adjuster. Then we fill out the material order, getting the customer involved, and then try to pave the way to collect the deductible. So if you think about this process, most contractors try over the course of the standard process to just position themselves as, I'm the guy who can get this thing done. I'm an expert in the claims process, and I know how to work with the insurance company to get your home back to pre-storm condition. We're going to do everything. That's the standard promise. But I want you to think about this. If every contractor in the world is following this process and they're all making the same promise, we know how to negotiate with the insurance company to get your home back to pre-storm condition. The thing that you've got to ask yourself is, what is the value of the differences? If we're all making the same promise and we're all promising that at the end of the day, you're going to have a brand new roof and the insurance company is going to pay for it, but 2 out of the 3 contractors is saying you need to pay me the deductible, and the third contractor is saying that you don't, then what is the difference that the homeowner sees? The homeowner sees the difference as the deductible. And in many cases, they're going to resolve to the fact that, look, there's really no differences between what all these guys are doing. He says he's going to pay the deductible. I'm going to go with him because it's less expensive. Now, I also want you to know that some of us have come up with some really sophisticated and powerful, responses when a homeowner pays the deductible. Mr. and Mrs. Homeowner, if you're looking to have me help you break the law for the benefit of doing business with you, then maybe you're not the right client for me. It's a powerful statement. But in light of this particular process, there is nothing that we could have done within this process to create a condition where the homeowner says, oh my gosh, what do you mean I'm not good enough for you? I want to be good enough for you. There's nothing there. And we're going to explain that a little bit more in more detail. Guys, I want you to think about this, and it's important that we revisit this. We must win the battle of perceptions, and as I've told many of you before, contractors represent 11 of the top 20 least trusted business types that consumers do business with. And roofing contractors have held the #1 position for more than 10 straight years. It is not unreasonable for me to suggest, based on these statistics, that consumers, for the most part, do not trust contractors, and they particularly don't trust roofers. And I want to be clear, this is not an attack on anybody's brand. I know some of you guys do a really, really good job of creating awareness in the marketplace of who you are, and you've got great reviews, and you've got testimonials, and a track record of success. What I'm talking about just is the industry as a whole. And even though you've done all those things to kind of prop your brand up, it's still important that when you get in the front of the homeowner that you don't shortchange the process, and you make sure that you reinforce all the reasons why you have all those great reviews and testimonials and why you are the brand of choice in the marketplace. As I shared with you on our first webinar, that there's approximately 75 million homes in the U.S. Last year, we replaced about 5.25 million roofs, and the Better Business Bureau tells us that there were 5.5 million inquiries. You got to think about that. There was 5.25 million roofs replaced, 5.25 million contractors hired, and there was 5.5 million inquiries. Because that tells us that on every single roof, there was at least one inquiry about a roofer. So if you think that by you just knocking the door, interrupting their day and saying, hey, look, I'm here to do an inspection because we had some weather. You want me to do an inspection for you? Sure. Hey, let's get your paperwork started. If you think that's going to take away all the fears, all the concerns, all the perception problems that exist, you're doing a disservice to yourself, and I also think that you're doing a disservice to the client. Think about this too. There's 15,000 inquiries with the Better Business Bureau every single day about roofers. There's 2,290 contractor complaints a day, and in the 1 hour that you spend with your customers trying to sell them, there's about 100 complaints against contractors nationally with the Better Business Bureau. So, and I will tell you guys, it's my recommendation that you leverage these statistics because you want to sort of create a sense of urgency. I want to use this reality to create urgency that makes them want to do business with me. Now, some of you guys may be saying, John, these are a lot of numbers, dude. I can't really follow all this stuff. I'm going to try to simplify this for you. Here is the circle of trust. Here's you. No, wait a second. I'm talking to storm restoration contractors, so here's you. Now, I'm hoping you guys got a chuckle out of that. Here's the thing that I want to tell you is that your goal in the sales process is to be comfortably nestled within the circle of trust, because only if you're there is the customer going to realize that there's a risk of doing business with the guy who's playing the deductible game. Think about this. If I'm outside the circle of trust and I say to the homeowner, Mr. and Mrs. Homeowner, if you're asking me to help you break the law for the benefit of doing business with you, then maybe you're not the right client for us. If I'm outside the circle of trust, the customer is likely to say, yeah, maybe you're right. But if I'm within the circle of trust, it's an entirely different scenario. And guys, we see this all the time, right? We see some contractors that say, I've got some guys that are really good on the retail side. They know how to go in, hold the customer's hand, follow the process, kind of nurture the client. And we have other guys that say, hey, I've got guys that are really good on the storm side of things, and they just don't want anything to do with the retail. And in the best interest of helping you guys position yourselves as the contractor of choice, I'm going to show you some of the ways that we can use the retail process really for the benefit of driving more sales on the storm side, reducing cancellations, securing the deductible, and also paving the way for us to upsell. And guys, I've said this before. The goal of the sales process is to increase the prospect's perception of value and eliminate every objection other than the price or time. And in our world, on the insurance restoration side of things, in the stormer's world, that price is the deductible. So what I want to do is I want to eliminate every objection other than the deductible. Because what I can always negotiate or fix the deductible problem at the end. What I can't change at the end is whether or not they like me, they trust me, and they're 1,000% sold on me. And that's the goal. I want them to say, my gosh, if I don't choose less risky roofing, I'm probably going to get screwed. And then I can ask them to measure that against the cost of the deductible. So here is the process that I just showed with you guys before. And just to kind of illustrate it, it kind of begs the question of, well, where do we establish rapport and trust? Where does the contractor learn about the prospect's wants and needs and concerns? And where does the contractor tell their company story? Guys, if you've ever sat through a presentation with me when I talk about the retail sales process, it's a series of steps. The opening stage we use to establish rapport and start to develop a relationship. That's the point where we set the agenda and then pave the way for us to ask them questions. In the needs assessment stage. The needs assessment stage, we do an inspection to check the home for visual confirmation of what the project needs from a product and an application perspective. And we also ask the customer questions about their wants, needs, concerns, fears, perceptions. What are your concerns about starting a project like this? Have you guys ever been involved in a remodeling project before? Have you met with any other contractors regarding this project? So we're asking questions to really determine the pain points. What is it the customer wants? What is it they need? How are they going to measure their success or their confidence in me, or right, their happiness in me as their contractor? Once we have a good understanding of what the project needs from a product and a customer experience perspective, we then get into our company story. This is where we begin to answer the question, why us? I go over who we are, why we've been the contractor of choice for so many of the neighbors, what we do that makes us different and better than everybody else. Once I tell the company story, I ask a commitment question. That question is designed to shift the conversation from one where me being the salesperson who's obviously trying to sell them shifts the process to the customer then evaluating what I've said to see whether or not they're sold on that. Hey, Mr. and Mrs. Homeowner, I just spent a few minutes talking about my company and the way that we do things. Did you have any questions? No? Okay. Well, based on what we've talked about so far, how confident are you in our ability to handle this project? Assuming they say, hey, we think you guys are great, we ask them some of the reasons why they feel that way, and we then get into our product presentation stage. Product presentation stage, we go over the systems options, the installation process. We invite them into the process by making choices, letting them choose and build the roof with me. They become emotionally invested in the project. They become more emotionally invested with me. I then, at the end of the product presentation, ask another commitment question. Hey, but we've just made some product selection choices. Just want to get a sense from you. How happy are you with the way this project's shaping up? They say, oh, we're really excited. We think the roof's going to look great. We say, we do too. Besides the cost, I mean, is there any reason why we couldn't get your project started today? Which is our trial close questions that then paves the way for us to deliver our proposal, provide the finance price. We pre-close by saying, Mr. and Mrs. Homeowner, whether you agree to do business with us or not, would you at least agree that the roof we're putting on your house is worth $159 a month? And assuming they say yes, we then set up the close by saying, great, all we need to do is have you authorize this agreement. We'll get started tomorrow pulling your permits. There's certain elements of that process that are critical to the success of the salesperson. And what I'm going to show you now is how we can marry some of those steps into the storm process. Very simple tweaks. And I hope that you guys will realize that there's some value in this. So here's the process, and I've kind of highlighted in red some of the things that make the process different. Now, this is the one I want you to take a picture of. If you email me, I'll send you this process chart. Okay, but now when I do the inspect for damage, I'm going to take my pictures, I'm going to fill out a damage report, I'm going to come down off the roof, and I'm going to say to the homeowner, Mr. and Mrs. Homeowner, it's a good thing I knocked on your roof today. We did find some damage. It's our strong recommendation that we file a claim with your insurance company. If we do that now, we're going to get you on your schedule, which is good because they're about 3 weeks out for the inspections. Is that something you want to do while I'm here? Now, assuming they say yes, you would then step back and say, hey, look, before we do that, I want to tell you a little bit about my company. You then deliver your company story. You then, at the end of your company story, ask a commitment question. Hey, based on what we've told you so far, would you be 100% comfortable with the thought of using us on this project? They're going to say, yeah, we think you guys are great. You're going to ask them to explain why, and then you get right into your service agreement. Now, you're going to notice my slide got a little messed up here. I'm covering up the word contingency. Guys, I know depending on where you live and where you are, in some cases it's not fair to say contingency agreement. You're not allowed to, whatever. I just say service agreement because I just want to fly below the radar. We're going to dive into this a little bit more step by step. We then call and you claim with the insurance company. We set the homeowner's expectation for the inspection, which I think is really important. We pave the way for upsell opportunities, and we try to get them approved on financing. We then meet with the adjuster, and then based on what we learn from the adjuster, we can revisit with the customer on some of the product selection choices and see if there's an opportunity to upgrade them to a better look, a better roof, and a better system. So I'm hoping by looking at this simple revision here that you guys aren't seeing anything that's too overwhelming, okay? We're not completely turning the world upside down. You still do what you do. We're just going to add some elements to it that I think are going to give the customer an opportunity to better understand the reasons why they should let you do the work and they should pay that deductible. So let's talk about the first stage, inspecting for damage and telling the company's story. Guys, your goal in the inspection is more than to find storm damage. I would recommend that you guys also try to use that time to position yourself as an expert and to become a trusted advisor. And the way that I always suggest that you do that is find something that you can tell them that teaches them something about their home, something they didn't know, something they didn't realize. If you can create an aha moment for them, they're going to be much more endeared to you. You know, it's like, wow, this guy really knows his stuff. You also want them to take ownership of their problems and try to create some urgency for solving it. And as I said earlier, you want to learn about some of their fears and concerns and perceptions. And again, you can do over the point of, as you're discussing with them their inspection and the results of your findings of the inspection, you can ask them simple questions. Hey, by the way, have you guys ever been involved in a insurance claim process before? Have you ever worked with a professional roofing contractor? What was your experience? How would you describe that experience? You can ask them those questions so you get a little bit of a better understanding of what's happening in here. And then the real goal is to get them to sign the service agreement. So one of the things that I would suggest, and this is just food for thought for some of you, because some customers are pretty savvy and they know, homeowners are pretty savvy, and they know that if their roof is blown up, they could pretty much find anybody to fix it. So one suggestion that I have is to try not to oversell the damage. And this is just up to you and your own individual style. But what I would try to do, especially if I was a local contractor, I would try to assert and position myself as the valuable choice, because I'm the guy who's local, I'm in the community, and I know everybody. So one of the things I would say is I would not go in and say, oh, Mr. and Mrs. Homeowner, this is catastrophic. Your home is completely destroyed. What I might say is something like this. So here's the deal. The good news is I did find some damage. The bad news is some adjusters might refer to that damage as marginal. But here's the really good news. Because we're local and we've been doing this for 20 years, I know pretty much every adjuster in the marketplace. And if you keep me involved in the process, there's a really good chance that I can get them to approve the claim. Here's what I need to do. I need you to make sure that I'm involved through the entire process, which includes the call that we're going to place today and the adjuster meeting that they're going to schedule with you. Do you guys have any questions about that? So by me sort of having this talk track, and I want to be clear, if you guys want these scripts, email me. I will send you the scripts. I want you to, utilize this stuff and, have a even higher level of success. So if this is going to be valuable for you, let me know and I'll provide it. But by having this particular conversation, I'm sort of setting the table and reinforcing the fact that we're local. We've been doing this a really long time. We know everybody. We're trusted. Keep me involved. So now I kind of eliminate or try to reduce the urge for the homeowner deciding to talk to another contractor or use their brother or their husband's best friend or whomever it is. Now, when it comes down to setting the table for your company's story, there's a lot of words here. And guys, I'm a big fan of scripting because I want you to be able to internalize some of the key talking points, and then you can deliver those talking points in a way that is reflective of your own style and your personality. So here's what I'd suggest that we would say. This really sets the table for us to transition from we did find damage to the point where we're now saying, let me tell you a little bit about my company. So I would say, Mr. and Mrs. Homeowner, based on this type of damage, I'd strongly suggest that we fill out a claim with your insurance company. This process takes just a couple of minutes, and if we do that today while I'm here, that'll get you on their production schedule, which is a pretty good thing because the insurance company is about 3 weeks out now for inspections. Is that something that you want to do while I'm here? And if they say, yeah, let's do it. You say, great, but before we call your insurance company, I do want to tell you just a little bit about my company. I mean, according to the Better Business Bureau, roofers are the least trusted business type that consumers do business with, and I want to make sure that you know who we are and that you're completely comfortable with the idea of using us on this project. Does that seem fair? Now, if they say, yeah, then you get into your company's story, and the goal of the company's story is really to simply identify what separates you from the competition. It tells them who you are, how long you've been in business, how many clients you have, what areas you serve, and you're just going to highlight some of the things that you do differently that are internally and externally to provide a better experience and a higher quality project for the homeowner. Now, guys, we did do a webinar last week on telling your company story, and that was really more retail focused. But I think if you go back to the SRS distribution website and you can watch the video of that, it will provide you with some, I hope some valuable insights to help you guys figure out how you might want to build that story for you. After we tell that company's story, we need to ask a commitment question. Now, I want you to be clear the reasons why commitment questions are so important. In your case, it's important because it sets the stage for us to then get into the service agreement. Are you completely comfortable with the idea of using us? Yes, I am. Great. Well, let's sign this agreement. But the reason why we ask the company story is because you got to realize that when you're talking to the customer, they know that you're a salesperson. And in the back of their mind, especially with contractors being the least trusted business type they do business with, they know in the back of your mind you're a salesperson, and there's a good chance you're telling me this stuff because you think it's what I want to hear because you're trying to sell me. So what we do is we ask the question, hey, knowing what you now know about our company, would you be 100% comfortable with us doing the work on your home? Or based on what we've talked about so far, how confident are you in our ability to handle this project? Now they've got to evaluate based on what you've said, whether or not they're comfortable using you. And when they say, oh, yeah, we think you guys are great, you then ask the question. You say, cool, well, just so I know specifically what's important to you, would you mind telling me a couple of reasons why you feel that way? And I'm going to write that stuff down because in the end, when they tell me, well, the other guy's going to eat the deductible, I can ask them to measure the cost of the deductible against all the reasons they just told me that they felt comfortable with me and wanted to do business with me. Now, when it comes to service agreements, guys, I have discussions all the time with people that say they're bogus and you can't enforce them and they're really not worth anything. I disagree. I think they are worth something. Whether they're enforceable or not, I think it forces many customers to feel like they have an agreement. And that's very, very important because I want you to know, and if you don't know this, I'm going to say something that's really provocative right now. Buyers are liars. Guys, your customer's going to say, I'll hire you. But something really funny happens when they get that check in their hand. Right? They're trying to figure out, whoa, I want to keep some of this money. Right? Now here's the thing I want you to remember, or I want you to think about. Because a lot of guys say to me, well, what am I going to do if they want to get out of the agreement? Am I going to sue them? It's like, probably not. I think that's a bad idea. We don't want to be known as, you're the guy who sues everybody. Okay? In those cases, we're just going to say, that's fine. No harm. What we're talking about here is the other people, the people who feel like, well, I do have an agreement, and I'm going to honor that agreement. Even if that holds true for 20% of the time, that's 20% of the time I don't have to worry about having that discussion. The other reason why I want you guys to think about the agreement is because I want you to think about the timeline and all the steps that are involved, all of the work that's done by you and your staff to help get that home back to pre-storm condition, and how much of that time and energy is being spent without you getting paid. I mean, it takes 2 to 3 weeks to get an inspection and get the adjuster out there, and depending on the adjuster and the insurance company, it could take several weeks more to get it approved, 2 to 3 weeks to get the ACV check, homeowner schedules to repair. You come in, boom, you're done in a day. And then it takes forever, not literally, but literally, to get the check for the recoverable depreciation. So there's a lot involved. And I think that you need to leverage that in your communication with the customer. Now, again, here's another script, but just something to think about when you're explaining the service agreement. Mr. and Mrs. Homeowner, look, due to the unique nature of insurance-related repairs, this agreement does not provide an explicit price because the final scope has not yet been agreed upon with your insurance company. Reaching that agreement on the final scope involves a considerable amount of time by us. And as much as we want to do business with you, we're not willing to proceed unless we know that you're 100% certain that you want us to be your contractor. I hope that you understand. If you do choose to move forward with us as your contractor, this agreement asks you to authorize us to work on your behalf to reach an agreement with your insurance company on the work required to get your home back to pre-storm condition. If you agree to pay your deductible, we'll agree to do the work for whatever the insurance company pays, which includes supplements, missing items, all codes, and overhead and profit. Now, guys, I said I'll send you that script because there's a lot of words to chew on there. But again, I want you to just think about what I just went over. And if you put that in your own speak, do you think that's a valuable way for you to communicate the agreement? One of the things I do want to do, I want to just talk to you real quick about our sponsor. I forgot to mention this in the beginning of the event. Today's meeting is being sponsored by Labor Connect, which is powered by Higgs from Higgs Consulting. I just want to put a polling question out to you guys right now and ask this question. Would access to additional qualified installers help you grow your business? Yes or no? If you guys can just maybe check that off on your computer now. I know I kind of threw this at you at the last second. You're all just lounging around. So one person says yes. And then what I want you to also think about is how many additional projects per week do you think you could turn if you had access to additional experienced, qualified, and insured installers? As a speaker doing a webinar, I don't think you understand the joy that I get, the simple joy I get out of watching the numbers kind of move and the bars grow and all that kind of stuff. So I'll give you a couple seconds to think about this. It's not a trick question. I just kind of want to get a sense from you. So the 5 of you who said, nope, I don't need any more crews, 6 of you now, I appreciate you. Give it another couple seconds. I mean, we all know, and every time we talk to NRCA or we go to the IRE or we go to the Best of Success conference, we're always hearing things like labor, number one problem in the industry, and it tends to be a huge issue and a huge challenge for a lot of us, and that's kind of why we decided to hook up with Labor Connect. I almost said connect with Labor Connect, but that would have been a little bit silly. So here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to minimize this poll right now. I'm going to tell you a little bit about Labor Connect. Oops, let's get back to my screen. So Labor Connect literally is a labor on demand for your business. And I want to let you know that Higgs Consulting Group has in the neighborhood of 3,000 crews throughout the country that are available for you guys to utilize to install your projects. Here's the thing that kind of makes the program different. All of their installation crews are experienced. They're licensed in the areas that require licensing. They're all insured with ample, subcontract or workers' comp insurance. They're reference checked, so we talk with the contractors that hire them, and they're background checked to verify that they're all, citizens and that they're all, good people. The program is very, very easy to use. If you go to higgs.pro/schedule, by the way, that'll allow you to schedule an appointment to talk with Nathan and his team about how to get started. But you're talking about the cost to use his service is somewhere around $375 just for the administrative fee, and then whatever the going rate is for labor in that area. And I think you're going to find that the rates are really are in concert with whatever's happening in your marketplace. I won't quote you a rate because it's going to depend. If you're in Chicago, for example, it's going to be much higher than it would be if it was, in Pennsylvania or, Oklahoma. Very easy to use process. Once you register, you submit the project. You will then be given 3 different choices of contractors. You're able to see who the crew is, access some of their reviews, learn a little bit about them. You're then, the builds are automatically scheduled the day after the material order is placed. And then usually what happens is they schedule the install 24 hours after the materials are scheduled to be delivered. Higgs will install asphalt shingles, metal roofing, tile roofing, even commercial projects with EPMD and TPO projects, and they'll also do gutters. And we're talking to them. I'm not promising this at any time in the near future, but we're talking to them about siding as well, because we've been told that siding could be a challenge as well. And I will tell you that Higgs also does provide project management and consulting services too. And a lot of contractors that have used them have seen dramatic reductions in waste, as well as improved efficiencies that the contractor can use to maybe spend more time with their other crews or on their other projects. So when they get involved in the whole project management, they'll manage everything from hiring purchasing a scope assist, doing the estimating, doing the material ordering for you through SRS, of course, and then billing out the crew. So all you need to worry about is collecting the money from the homeowner, which is usually a pretty good service. So if you guys have any questions about this, if you have any interest, please, give me a call. If you want to talk to me about it, I'm happy to explain the program to you, or go right to the guy who created it, Nathan Higgs. He's been around for a long time. He's well respected and admired in the roofing industry. Go to higgs.pro/schedule. There's a button on there that says schedule an appointment. You'll go in, you'll be able to see all the times that he has available, and then you guys can set up a call to discuss the program and see if it's a good fit for you guys. So let's talk a little bit about calling in the insurance claim. One of the things that I suggest is that you also set the expectations with the homeowner of that adjuster meeting. And there's just a couple things to go over. We all know it's always best to call the 800 number as opposed to the local agent. We know the process where local agents try to sometimes discourage the homeowner. I had that happen with my neighbor, as a matter of fact. Well, I called my agent, who was my sister-in-law, and she told me that I shouldn't submit a claim because my insurance is going to go up. And it was like, oh, gosh. Call the 800 number. You may need to be there to answer key questions like, when was it damaged? What was the weather event? Do you need a tarp? How steep is it? How many stories? What type of project? One of the other things that I would encourage you to do, oh, by the way, tell me if you can relate to this one, huh? I always ask, who would be the company that would deny it? It's usually a toss-up between, State Farm and Allstate. But I want to let you know, if this happens, my recommendation is that you hire Michelle Clark. If you don't know who Michelle Clark is, I'm going to show you a video. She's a new adjuster that is really articulate when it comes to working with insurance companies.
Across town, residents are now picking up the pieces as well. Large hailstones destroyed mobile homes, busted out windows, and car tail lights.
Man, them jokers was big, size of a quarter doggone.
Many said it sounded like nothing they've ever heard before.
He said, kapooyah, kapooyah. And your boy, that hell just came in. I opened my door, and I looked out my door and started hitting me in my head. I took out running, ran to my restroom, and then I called my mama to see was she all right.
So just remember, the key word there is kapooyah, kapooyah. So guys, think about this. Have you ever been in an adjuster meeting where the adjuster is like sitting in the front of the homeowner and saying, wow, this is unreasonable. This is a lot of money, and you're crazy, and this is a lot of stuff that you're asking for here, and I don't know. And do you ever wonder if the adjuster might be going around your back and telling the homeowner, hey, I can get a lot of guys that'll do this work for half the cost. We know that's not supposed to happen, but we also, some of us, kind of believe that it might be happening. So one of the things I would encourage you to do is have a conversation with your homeowner up front. And here's a great way to do it. Say, hey, look, I've been doing this for a really long time, and I got to tell you, there's some good adjusters out there who want what's best for the homeowners, and there's also some bad adjusters who want to try to do the job as cheaply as possible. Every so often, one of those bad adjusters will tell you that I'm crazy, and they have other contractors that may be able to do the job for less. If this happens, I want you to know that we're not arguing about the prices I charge because I'm using the same pricing software that they're using. What we're arguing about is the type of work and the materials that must be used to meet the building code and honor the manufacturer's warranty. As much as I hope this never happens, I may need you to assert your desire to have the job done right and your commitment to me as your contractor. Do you guys have any questions about the adjuster meeting? Now, because you've set the table for the potential, you're not going to say it happens all the time, but the potential for that to happen, now if it does happen, you're going to see the homeowner go, whoa, 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 I want this job done right. Or, hey, this is my contractor. I want the job done right, and I'm listening to him. If you don't have that conversation, it's very easy for the homeowner to align themselves with the adjuster because that's the guy, after all, who they're paying checks to every single month. Guys, when it comes down to meeting the adjuster, I will tell you that, I know some of you guys accept a little because you think a little is better than nothing. When you do this, you're doing a disservice. We do have 2 webinars coming up in the next couple of weeks where we've got XM8 who's going to teach you guys how to properly and easily format an estimate that puts you in the best position to get paid. And then they're also in a second webinar going to talk about how to use macros in Xactimate to make the process of writing estimates even easier. And they promise that some of you guys will be able to cut that cost or cut that time in half. So if you go to the website, the SRS website, and click on webinars, you can register there. So when it comes time to, as far as upgrades are concerned, I always say that the best time to upgrade is when the insurance company is paying for most of it. Also, by doing that, you get the customer emotionally involved in the project and in you. And it also, they keep in mind that sort of like, kind, and quality mindset. I mean, we can always sell them on the benefit that Mr. and Mrs. Homeowner, look, if we ever have weather again, the good news is the insurance company is going to have to replace the roof with the better shingle, better warranty, better system. You pretty much got this roof, in the event of every storm, right? So here's how I would do it. I would tell the homeowner this. I would have this conversation. Now, just hear me out from a process perspective. We got them to sign the service agreement. We're now talking about the adjuster meeting and setting their expectations. And then I have this conversation where I say, hey, almost as sort of like an afterthought, I would have the conversation and go, I got to tell you, some of my clients have taken advantage of this opportunity to really improve the whole look of their home, realizing that the insurance company is already agreeing to pay for the tear off, the cleanup, and the installation of the entire roof system. Many of our clients are surprised to learn that for as little as $20 a month, they could dramatically change the look of their home. Would you guys be interested in seeing what some of those options are? Now, again, for $20 a month, by the way, I want you to think about this. $20 a month on a 60-month zero-interest loan through GreenSky, the cost of that is somewhere between 18 and 20, is somewhere around $50 to $55 per square. So think about that. $50 to $55 per square I could sell to the homeowner as a $20 a month payment on 60 months zero interest. How much more could you give them? How much more could you enhance the look of the home for $50 to $55 a square? We can usually do a pretty good dramatic changeover. So at that point, if they say, yeah, I would be interested in some of those options, then we open up our literature. Maybe we have some things in there highlighted that says, hey, look, this is what they're probably going to agree to. It's this product here, but then we're going to show them, here's some of the other products that might look good on your home. And we could definitely do that for between, probably $18 and $20 a month. But you got to have that stuff dialed in before you go in there. Now, as she's looking through the roof, because he's probably not really paying that close of attention to it. He's thinking more about cost and inconvenience. She's looking at, oh my gosh, I like this. I'd like this. You can then say to them, well, here's the deal. We don't really need to make a decision today because we haven't even really spoken to your insurance company about what it is that they're going to agree to. But what I would suggest is, why don't we at least get you guys approved for the financing? So then when we do know what the insurance company is willing to pay, we could figure all this out and tell you exactly what you're approved for and what it's going to cost. And now when you get them approved on the GreenSky financing, they get a shopping pass that they can only use with you and your company. And think about this, guys. I've always said that people love options. So when you're presenting the option on an upsell in a storm market, present them with two different ways to look at it. The first way includes, we can take your insurance payment, the money you get from the insurance company, we can apply it towards the upgrade, which would result in a 36-month zero-interest loan at $139, $140 a month. Or if you want, Mr. and Mrs. Homeowner, you can keep your insurance check, and we'll finance the entire project for $208 a month. Which of those two options works best for you? Now, guys, again, for those of you who participated in the Advanced Pricing Strategies webinar we talked about why it's important to provide options. Because when I provide options, A, I give the customer control to a certain extent, but B, it shifts that decision from should I buy from you or not buy from you, it shifts that decision to which option's best for me. Which one do I want? And then when they decide which one they want, it makes it that much easier for you guys to, get them to move forward and actually buy from you. So I'm going to end up with the deductible question, because that always comes up. Guys, I always say that if somebody's willing to play the deductible game and you're competing with that, try to utilize the trust that you've developed to undermine the credibility of the guy who's willing to do that. And I have on here the circle of trust because I want you to know that if you're not within the circle of trust, this does not matter. The only way you can be within the circle of trust is if you tell the company story, if you set their expectations, if you get to know them on a certain level by understanding what's important to them. Mr. and Mrs. Homeowner, if that contractor is willing to help you commit insurance fraud to earn your business, what else might they be willing to do to make a profit on your project? The difference between happy homeowners and those who become a statistic with the Better Business Bureau always comes down to who they trust and choose to work on their project. Do you honestly think you can trust somebody who's encouraging you to break the law? As much as I want to help you and do business with you, I refuse to do anything that sets either of us up for failure. I mean, isn't that the type of contractor that you want to work with? Another approach is, Mr. and Mrs. Homeowner, look, if you're asking me to help you commit insurance fraud for the benefit of earning your business, then I'm sorry, then maybe you're not the right customer for me. I mean, we've worked really hard to earn a solid reputation for quality and integrity, and we're not willing to compromise that for anyone. Look, I'm happy to help you finance the deductible if that will work, but I can't help you break the law. And for those of you who are not business owners, if you're a sales rep for the company, I would leverage the relationship that you've developed with the client and say, hey, I really would love to help you here, but if I do that, if I help you break the law, I'm going to get fired. Now, here's the thing I want you guys to be sensitive to. Some of you guys are going to go, that's not going to work. And I'll be willing to bet you that majority of the time it's not going to work. But we don't offer that response because 90% of the time it doesn't work. We offer that response because 10% of the time it does. And that 10% of the time, if I'm able to secure the deductible, sign the contract, and eliminate cancellations, I'm winning, even if it's only 10% of the time. Guys, and I'll remind you, Green Sky does offer a 6-month zero-interest loan with a 1.5% merchant fee. And I'm sure if I asked you guys to raise your hands, how many of you, just raise your hand, would be willing to eat 1.5% to know that you're going to collect the deductible and not have to chase it around? Odds are most people would say, I'll eat 1.5% all day long. So guys, I'll just wrap up with this, quote that you guys have probably heard me say more than once, but it's important and we mean it. SRS cares deeply about our customers and our people. This is what our culture is all about. And we firmly believe that we're all in this situation together. And it seems like we're starting to hear that there's a light coming out of at the end of the tunnel, hopefully. Except New York. I'm in New York, and Cuomo just wants to drag this thing out forever. But we all believe that if we work together today, we can be stronger than we ever were before this got started. Guys, make sure you check out the webinar page on our COVID-19 banner at the top of srsdistribution.com. Just click at the top and then click on webinars. We got a really cool webinar tomorrow, and it's going to show you guys how you can virtually door knock customers and manage the entire sales process. On Monday, we've got a webinar that talks about reshaping your company culture to help you create sort of, passionate employees who just want to go out and make a positive difference for the customer. I've introduced another webinar called Coffee is for Closers. This is all about closing the deal, overcoming objections, creating a closer's mindset. We got Nathan Higgs from Labor Connect, who's going to do a webinar that talks about production and how to use your production crews to create a great experience and generate 5-star reviews for your business. And then on the 29th and on May 6th, we've got Xactimate training with XM8 Mastery. And they're going to come in and talk to you guys about how to write estimates more easily, how to formalize your estimate writing process to pave the way for you to not only get approved and paid, but also how you can do that stuff very easily. Here's my contact information. If there's ever anything I can do for any of you, please don't hesitate to contact me. Let's read questions. Do you recommend service agreement to be separated from the sales contract? Tracy, I would talk to your legal people about that. I'm not a lawyer, and I don't want to give you any advice, especially because there's a lot of crazy laws out there these days. I know if you're in Texas, they give you a really hard time with what you can do and not do, whereas in other parts of the country, like Colorado, you can pretty much do whatever the hell you want to do. So I would just recommend, I'm not blowing it off, I'd recommend that you talk to your legal people. Mike asks about Labor Connect for new construction. Don't know that, Mike, but I can look into that for you. David Norling asks if Labor Connect installers are OSHA qualified. Do they wear ropes and harnesses? I can't get my roofer to follow those rules. David, that's a challenge, dude. We got to get these guys to be safe. I know that you know that. But I will check on the OSHA thing. I'm assuming they're all being safe and not creating a condition where your job site is in jeopardy. And Ryan wants to know, can we get copies of the slides? No, Ryan, I'm not going to give you my presentation. But I'll send you the scripted stuff if that's stuff that you're interested in. Just email me and I'll send it to you. Tracy asks, also any webinars to help get roof bought adjusters have really tightened up, I noticed in the last year. Tracy, I could tell you that I have heard also in this past year and a half, that they're seeing more denials on insurance claims than people have ever seen before. But I'm also being told that in many cases when you ask for re-inspections, that a lot of those are being improved. And some people are telling me it might take 2 or 3 re-inspections. And I believe, and I'm just speculating here, just some novice guy in Orchard Park, New York, but my gut tells me is that the insurance company is adopting a strategy where they say, hey, look, if we deny it, a good percentage of the time it'll just go away. So they're kind of playing the odds that if we deny it, people will just find other options and then we're not on the hook to pay for it. My suggestion is if you firmly believe that there's legitimate issues and need to have that thing taken care of and covered, I would ask you guys to just keep requesting re-inspections, and then if not, there's obviously solutions for you out there, whether it be public adjusters or legal people that can help you guys fight on the customer's behalf. Any other questions, comments? Hey, just real quick, if you guys don't mind, I'll let you go. By a show of hands, you guys can, I'm going to lower hands now. How many of you guys would you at least be curious about Labor Connect and hearing what Nathan has to say? And well, thanks, Sean, but you work for us. All right. Well, good. Now you've just committed to an appointment with me. Okay, this is now you're not on my do not call list because you just raised your hand. That means I can harass you with demos and stuff like that. So I may just reach out to you via email and say, hey, if you want to set up an appointment, I'm happy to help you guys do that. We'll get you started. I think it can be a really good service, especially when the market starts to come back and there's pent up demand, and like in areas where there's weather and people are really allowed to work, you'll be able to just own the market if you've got a few extra crews at your disposal that you can trust and that'll do the job right for you. So guys, thanks so much for your time and continued success, and I'll look forward to seeing you on our next webinar. Take care. Yes, Steve, the meeting will be archived so you can watch it again. Take care, guys.